Underdog Daily with Badge Bros, but just John, this OG Rotorun solo run on a Monday here. We got 2 games of NBA hoops getting us ready for those postseason slates, those shorter slates with no ADP. Fun exercise today. We got all injury reports already, but I'm not sure how much they help. Not going to lie, all these Q tags littered on the slate. 2 distinctly different slates, NBA and MLB today, but both equally challenging in their own right, but a lot of fun. We're going to parse through it all here. 7 games of MLB today. Some weather concerns in some, not in terms of potentially rainouts or anything like that, but just very difficult hitting conditions. And we're seeing that reflected in the lobbies right now. But we're going to start with the weekend. We start with the weekend that was, and maybe a little bit of setting the stage, lay of the land for this week. Obviously, it's Masters week, so we got some albatross stuff in there. We got scrambles return in the lobby, so that's good to see. Hopefully, going to run a golf show at some point this week. I got some irons in the fire. It's also the last week of NBA, so a lot still to be determined in the standings, particularly in the Western Conference. Spots 3 through 8 are separated by 2 games. So still a lot to play for there and a lot to unfold in our dance competition. So we're going to attack the dance competition head on tomorrow on Off and On the Clock there. We're going to have last year's champ, Scott Bloomfield, join us, or Boosteen, sorry, join us, former WOSOP main event champion. So that'll be a lot of fun. Never met him before, but Pete has a relationship there. So that's going to be really cool. Get his thoughts on winning last year there. And then we could talk about the weekend. We could talk about some really big winners by friends of the show and people on the platform. Yeah, Cowboys being one of them there. Metal Vault's bringing up scoop of the leaderboard in the NBA stuff last night. Also, my guy Car Park doing work in both the hockey and baseball streets over the weekend. Sock Muffin with a 2 and a 2 there. Yeah, like it just very impressive stuff. I think the best place to start, though, will be with some of the season long. Some of the season long. Double Dribble came to an end, and so did Best Puck Classic there. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to, let's see, little seamless transition, right? That's the platform of the people. That's the Black and Yellow Dog app right there. But I got some screen grabs. Because I did not make the finals in Double Dribble or Best Puck. I think I had 20 Best Puck teams and only got 2 to the semifinal. Didn't make the finals there. And then Double Dribble, I think I only had 10 in, just peak NFL season for us and peak MLB dailies season. So yeah, I'll be sure to be doing more of the hoop stuff next year, especially as interest has ramped up there. Guys, we hear it. I'll be very frank. We hear the complaints. Jeremy addressed the complaints head on Twitter there. Dink had a mini thread about the sweat experience that was the Double Dribble this year. Obviously the format changed in terms of the scoring for the finals and all this sort of stuff. And we hear it, man. We hear it that the sweat experience was not nearly as good as it should have been. We hear that the leaderboard experience was not as good as it should have been. And Jeremy came right out on Twitter and said they're investing in draft games. They're getting devs to look at this for next year and that the sweat experience will not repeat itself next year. So I'm very bullish on what this tournament could look like next year. I know that people found it very frustrating when sweating the leaderboards, when sweating their lineups, not knowing, what they needed to score going down the stretch, that sort of thing. It was hard to follow whether someone would go in your lineup or not. Absolutely. All of the feedback is heard, and just know that Underdog's addressing it. And I'm sure as many of you watching this program right now or members of the community have applied for some of those draft game positions that have now become, made public on the Underdog website, they're investing in draft games, and that's bullish for us. That's bullish for our community, and that's bullish for everything going forward here. They're not losing sight of the fact that though maybe pick'em stuff pays the bills more so than the draft game stuff, they're not losing sight of the fact that the backbone of this site and the reason that Underdog exists is the fact that draft games are so popular, and best ball in particular is so popular. So I'm excited for what it could look like next year from a sweat experience. It is a little unfortunate that I have to see community screen grabs and can't be live sweating alongside members of the community here. But that's what we're working with. So let's just talk about what took place. Shout out to Jay Selly here, 13. I know Tony Story right below there as well was live sweating alongside and is a member of the community. So big shout outs to them. Big life changing money here. 100K up top, 50K in second place there. We'll look through the lineups at a future date. I will do my best to try and find a winner circle for this Jay Selly, that sort of thing. If you happen to be watching, if you happen to know us, that sort of thing, please reach out. I love having and celebrating the success of members on the community over here. So there's a look at 1 through 6. There's 7 through 13. Shout out to Layup Lions in there twice. Shout out to the Dink Piece, aka ETR's Sushi Man himself there, chefing up the projections. And then the Puck Guys. My Puck Guys, Iron Penguin 13, running away with it by a large margin there. Shout out to the Iron Penguin 13. I know a lot of members of the community. I think some of the back end of this has fluctuated a little bit because there were some stat corrections. I know Bates is part of the community and part of the Discord, and he fell down to 9th. So there has been a few changes throughout here, but I do believe the Iron Penguin is still first there for the 25,000. So big shout out there. Hey, there we go. Antonio, congrats, man. Hanging out in the chat. I'm Tony's Story. Love it, man. Appreciate that. That you say what's up, and mad respect to you. That's awesome. Love to hear that. Congrats on the 50K. Mambator in 5th. He's an ETR staff. Shout out to him. There you go. Trevor's got more dialed than I am. There you go. Mad respect. Speaking of ETR, I know it took place on the Redacted platform, but we got to shout it out. Our guy Winky, who rolls through in the chat all the time, who gives us the 10 takeaways every single night. I read it every single night in the middle of hoops season there. Just so fortunate to see one of the good guys and one of the true ball knowers in this space get home. Formerly part of the Underdog family there and now part of ETR. That is so cool to see. I love to celebrate the success of anyone on any platform, but this is we make a special exception for our guy Winky here. I had the good fortune of meeting him at the Dog Bowl there too. Super down to earth, super nice, fun guy to hang out with as well. So I want to give some love there. And if you scroll one more down to 6 there, you can see our guy Sam Olson. He's doing his thing on the Redacted platform as well. As the chat has already said, Cowboys there last night in the hoops streets with a big leaderboard scoop. Mad respect to Cowboys. Cowboys been a good player on this site for a long time. It was a peak Joker slate. Just ask Winky. That's what you needed. Man, Joker was nuts. 37, 13, and 12 or something like that in the first 3 quarters. It was nuts, man. Just crazy Joker run out there. Denny Avdia and Giannis sitting yesterday really opened up a path for the Joker teams to run away with the season-long stuff and run away with the daily stuff there. As you guys see, Splash Mountain, Brooke Lopez being the guy you needed after the Giannis rule out there. I know a lot of us were getting to KPJ in yesterday's stuff. So awesome stuff. Let's before we go into today's slate, I think I've hit on almost everything I need to hit on there from the weekend. It was an awesome sports day yesterday. Obviously, we had the Ovi event, and then we had a full 15 games of baseball. We had a full NBA slate. There was a NASCAR race that ended pretty well. I mean, I know you guys aren't necessarily NASCAR guys. There was some golf going down there. Novak gave it a sweat at the end. There was just a lot of good sports being played. There was a women's national championship. Obviously, we got the men's college basketball national championship tonight. There was a lot of good sports yesterday. Fun day for sports. Fun day for all the season-long basketball stuff to be coming to a close yesterday. I got to talk about it though, because you guys know that as much as I'm, baseball guy, ball knowing guy, I'm a puck bro. We got to talk about the Ovi thing. Incredible. I never thought in my lifetime that I would see it. I never thought once in my lifetime that we would ever see some of those outlying Gretzky records get taken down. Originally, I didn't want to see it happen. I love the idea of Gretzky being like this folklore, this crazy, unobtainable. He was the goat of all goats. He was the Babe Ruth of hockey kind of vibe, where it's like none of his records could ever be touched. But then when I saw it, I was very happy. I was very happy, and I was very happy to see it in the capacity in which it took place. The fact that, Ovi comes back from a broken leg this year, that Washington's in first place in the East, whether they're going to be playoff contenders or not, that's up for debate. But yeah, the fact that they're in first place in the East, that he broke his leg mid-season and still scores 40 plus goals. I get that he's out there half the time, coasting around with one hand on his stick and not coming below the hash marks in his own end and that sort of thing. It's so much better than it could have been, because there was another path to this where he just hangs around for a cellar dweller team for the next 4 years, playing 50 games, getting ice time that he doesn't deserve, and we're just begging and praying for him to break the record and go away and ride off into the sunset. The fact that he did it like this in such an amazing year, he is truly become, for hockey, he was a little bit villainized early on because it was like him versus Sid, and all like the Canadian and in some respects North American vibe was like pro Sid. He has been such a good beacon and such an amazing person for hockey that I'm very, very happy to have seen him do it last night. And I didn't think I would feel that way. I did not think I would feel that way, but I had to get that one off my chest because we're showing the puck guys some love at the start of the show today. And I think this year has been a very, very good year for hockey in general. Just the Four Nations, then the Four Nations factor, and then now this Ovi record thing. I could have done without the roll the red carpet out in the middle of the game and pause the game for 30 minutes. I think you could have done that at the end of the game, or you could have done it at the start of next game, something like that. But yeah, I thought it was very, very cool, and maybe something we never ever see again. Certainly not in my lifetime. So just really wanted to talk about it off the hop there. Yeah, let's dive into this. Trevor's asking if we're going to do NBA or MLB first. I think we do NBA. We get it out of the way. It's a very short slate. It is only 2 games. As I talked about, the Q tags and that sort of thing. Yeah, well, let's talk NBA. Let's do it kind of rapid fire, and then we'll move on. Yeah, lay of the land for the week, guys. Obviously, dance tomorrow, and then hopefully a double dip show. Though we got a meeting that we got to do after tomorrow's show, so we'll see. I'll look at the slates for tomorrow and determine, but I might try and do some golf tomorrow to get people excited about the scramble and the albatross, and selfishly for me to learn a little bit more knowledge so that I can get excited for Masters Week here and get in some of these best ball contests for golf. Yeah, and then Nez is going to be with us for 3 shows this week, and I will do a minimum of 5, some obviously in tandem with him, and then some of the paywall variety there, so the members are going to get what they deserve this week. All right, let's do it. Hoops. These are no ADP, projection only. So this is a very different dynamic. Some of you guys who are regulars in playing the Dunk After Dark slates are going to be very familiar with this sort of thing. But as projection shifts throughout the day, it tends to skew draft boards more rapidly than ADP does, because ADP takes a while to catch up, right? Whereas if we get a random, Bam gets ruled out right now, just for instance, that sort of thing, it's going to rapidly change the projection of like 6 or so other people, and it's going to rapidly change then in which how they draft. So yeah, so Metal Vault's saying right now, 4-man hoops on a Monday is wild. It is wild. It is a lot of fun. It is true ball knower shit out here. Let's start jumping over to the beautiful Unabated platform here. I think it's gonna be easier to just talk about it game by game instead of going through the Q tags here. Actually, you know what? We can highlight the Q tags that are impacting the slate in a big way. Bam and Hero. Hero did not play last game with the thigh contusion there. Bam did play. He played 42 minutes in a game that they lost in overtime to the Bucks. Something we're going to talk a lot about this week going forward with NBA just in general is the implications of the standings. As of right now, it's crazy. This is very very funny to just think that the Raptors, who are blatantly tanking right now, almost found their way to fringe play-in contention there. Could you imagine if they just kept them kind of like healthy for a little bit there? Yeah, what they could have done a little bit down the stretch to just earn one game, but they were trying so hard to protect their pick. But the Eastern Conference is definitely not solidified, but definitely far more solidified than the Western Conference. And that is because we know who's going to be in the playoff play-in bracket tournament here. It's going to be the Magic, the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Heat. So the Heat are in this conversation, and basically all they can do over the course of their next 3 games, I believe they have this week. Let's double check. Schedule upcoming here. They have all the way down. They have 4 remaining. So they have 4 remaining here. They're on that Sunday of the last slate of the year, or last full slate of the year that Sunday. So they have 4 remaining this week. So in theory, let's go back one more. In theory, like they could impact themselves enough so in the standings that they could host one of these 2 games. Does it matter to them, or would they rather be healthy for said play-in series game, right? So these are going to be kind of like the weird balancing act outside of like the micro nuances of, can Bam play basketball this evening? Can Hero physically play basketball this evening? Can Aaron Wiggins make his return after missing 5 or 6 games this evening? The push-pull dynamic outside of that will be, do they have anything to play for right now, or are they better off just getting a little bit of rest before a game that actually fully matters, right? So these are going to be the conversations we're having all week long with hoops, and this is some of the research you should be doing on the back end, whether you're playing the push-pull dynamics of the Q tags. It's going to come into effect in a big way when it comes to guys going to be chasing eligibility for, all NBA and stuff like that. Like, I don't know who could potentially fall into that threshold, but like you have to play that minimum 65 games. If there's someone who's at like the 62 or the 63 mark, or let's use Jared Allen, for instance, they really want him to play all 82 games this year. Now, whether he plays full in those games, who knows? But it sounds like they're not going to allow him, or not. He doesn't want to be just flat ruled out. So if he's dealing with Q tags later in the week, stuff like this. So this is the ball knowers angle. This is stuff we got to be thinking through. Long-winded way to say that the Heat definitely have something to play for in these next 4 games if they want to have home court. That's how I'm reading the scenario there. That being said, they get the fragmented corpse of the 76ers team that they are 13 now point favorites against at home, even with all these Q tags. So could this be a natural rest spot? And then they could find, the last 3 games in the last 6 days of the season, play harder in those ones potentially. So this is the gal brain shit we're dealing with peak silly season to end the NBA season. But this is where you're going to find the edges, right? So obviously tied into the Miami stuff is this Wiggins one as well. Those are kind of the main ones. We'll go through some of the auxiliary ones with Burks and Highsmith when we do the game by game. Now, the other stuff is there's only one team that is on a back-to-back, front end or back end back-to-back, and that is the Kings. So Sabonis, depending what room you're in, is either going as the 101 or the 102. Some people are flip-flopping the Cade stuff over him. Yeah, we can have that conversation in a minute here. I think I'm going to be mixing and matching here because like the Pistons can definitely jump to 5 seed in the East, but like how much does it matter? It's way more important that Cade coming back from, missing some time, is ready to play full come that postseason game than it is that they vault to the 5 seed, because 5 versus 6 isn't like all that different in terms of like hosting, right? If they could find their way up to the 4 seed, now that's a different story, but they basically can't because they're 4 games back of the Pacers, right? So the Pacers have a pretty good, it looks like the hosting teams for the first round of the NBA playoffs in the Eastern Conference will be Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, and Pacers, regardless of what happens this week. Pacers could fall off a cliff and maybe Bucks could jump them, but I highly doubt that because the Pacers only need to win one ball game. So yeah, these are the things we're thinking about. Josh with a hot take in the chat here that the Lakers get the 3 seed. They're winning it all. Man, that Lakers stuff from our first dance show is aging beautifully. Chef's kiss out here right now, because some of those combos in the dance lobbies, I did one yesterday. It's even hard to get the Luka Braun start now, and it was free and sometimes available in the 2-3 earlier. Yeah, raise it. Let's remind everybody you missed it off the top, but I understand people trickle in at their own accord here. Dance show tomorrow with last year's champion on Off It on the Clock. That will be at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. That'll be a lot of fun there. Nez will be back for that one as well. Who knows? Maybe I should just take a seat for that one. 4 men in the booth might be a little too heavy for that one. Maybe I'll let the sharps just hash it out. Who knows? So Sabonis versus Cade this evening. I'm a little skittish on the minutes with the Cade stuff. I mean, came back, played 27. You get what is, the pace-up game between the two on the slate this evening versus the Kings. They're 6.5 home favorites there. May or may not have Duran this evening, who sat out last game. I'd be a little worried about the Cade minutes. That being said, he has to go first or second in these drafts. That's where I'm at, but that's why I have Sabonis ahead. And we could talk about the implications. So we've done the Eastern Conference. Let's jump over to the Western Conference, because we got to talk about the implications of this Kings situation. The Kings are not fully out of the water, though they are considerably more safe than they were a week ago. They are 3 games up on the Suns. The Suns still fighting to jump in here. In theory, they could vault either the Magic or the Kings. We take a look at that Suns remaining schedule as this week goes. It's just, good cumulative knowledge for us to have. They got 4 games remaining and they're tough, but this last one could be pretty huge with a head-to-head against Sacramento. So if they're able to beat Golden State tomorrow night without KD, or if KD, I'm not anticipating KD coming back, but it's a conversation we can have tomorrow there. But if they can somehow get OKC to be resting or something like that for this one, and then, they somehow beat Golden State on the front end, it is a back-to-back there. Booker's going to have to play a shit ton. Beal's going to have to play a lot too. There is a path for the Suns to find their way in. It's probably at the expense of the Mavs opposed to the Kings, but the Mavs are going to do everything in their power for the tail end of this season to make it not look like a complete and utter, dumpster fire loss of a season, to ensure they at least get one quote unquote playoff game here. So if we juxtapose what's going down with the Kings and the Suns there, Mavs have 3 remaining games. One is nationally televised on the Wednesday versus the Lakers. And then they got this Toronto, which should be a quiet quit tanking version of the Raptors. Should be a good game for them at home. And then they got a tough one at Memphis. And Memphis could definitely still be playing for something on the Sunday, because Memphis is a team that's going to want to stay out of like the play-in tournament stuff and vault up the standings as far as they possibly can. Because if we go back to our Western Conference standings, you guys can see that Memphis has fallen all the way from the 2 seed in the West. What was it, 2.5 months ago, down to like 8 seed here. So, man, they're only 3 games behind the Lakers there. They got 3 games this week, or 4 games this week. And a lot of movement's going to take place here. So here's a good kind of like macro for you guys doing the draft, or doing the dance this week, that these are the things that we got to be thinking through in terms of seeding and matchups and that sort of thing. And it's also just good macro knowledge for us going into the slates for the remaining of the week here. Pitch saying it perfect that it is the wild, wild west. Absolutely. Yeah. Happy Masters Week to y'all and GM, my friends, rolling through a little bit late here. All right. So, what does that mean for today for the Kings? The Kings have now filed their injury report, and Keegan Murray missed last night with the Q tag. He has the Q tag again today. The Kings stars last night, or let's say maybe stars is a strong term. The Kings starters last night, man, did they play big time minutes. Malik Monk only played 20 minutes last night. Played 20 minutes last night. Uh, the main guys, including Keon Ellis in those main guys conversation, played 40. I mean, Levine played 42. Sabonis played 39. DeRozan played 40. Keon Ellis played 39. Trey Lyles played 40 and 20 seconds. Like, they played monster minutes last night, but they have to play their guys, man. Like, these wins really matter to the Kings right now. So, do we expect Keegan Murray to come back from the Q tag this evening? I don't have a lean on the situation. Admittedly, I do not have a lean on the situation. I'm taking him because of the swap options. But right now, in the early drafts that I was doing, when I saw the Q tags on Murray and Keon Ellis and the fact that Trey Lyles played as much as he did last night, man, I was prioritizing a little bit of Malik Monk. Because if we get one of those guys sitting and Malik Monk draws back into the starting lineup, he has no business going in the 5th or 6th round. That being said, the Malik Monk role has fallen off a cliff in the last month here when he's been playing off the bench. You know, that lead handling stuff and that lead on ball defending has all gone by way of Keon Ellis. So, yeah, this Keon Ellis Q tag has me a little skittish, just in general on his availability this evening, especially playing 40 there. But I did not watch the Kings ball game yesterday, so I don't know if there was a isolated instance that took place. I was scouring the Twitterverse there to see if there was anything that I could find out. I think this is just a classic, second night of a back-to-back, knowing that they have 4 important games this week, that a couple guys get slapped with the Q tag. I was happy to see Sabonis not get slapped with the Q tag with the ankle, because that would have really thrown this slate for a loop. He was a late day downgrade last week for the Hornets game. I think it was the Hornets game. Yeah, I believe it was the Hornets game. Out of that he was the late day downgrade and then ended up playing through it there. But Sabonis, beautiful box scores in recent memory, a lot funneling through him on the offensive end. Him and DeRozan right now, playing some big time offensive basketball there. All right. Yeah. So in terms of the game by game stuff, obviously the Kings and Pistons game is the pace up of the two environments, but it's really hard to talk about the Kings with these Q tags. I think if Keon Ellis plays this evening, he's a better pick than Malik Monk. I think if Keon Ellis does not, Malik Monk is the better of the two picks. I don't think you're going to have a swap option available for Malik Monk. Maybe some of the earlier drafters in the day could there. On the Pistons side, let me just official injury report for you guys. Kings stuff. Keon Ellis is right hand soreness with the Q tag, and Keegan Murray missed last game with back soreness, and it is listed as back soreness yet again. On the Pistons side, we're dealing with Jalen Duren, who had a Q tag that then it was kind of a late addition Q tag that then wound to him sitting there. Is this a little bit of funky business to, after such a monster game with the 36 minutes against the Raptors, the 66 fantasy points, broke that slate in the 6th round there on Friday night, I believe. Yeah, Friday night slate there. Is this a little bit of gamesmanship on the back-to-back that he sits out the Memphis one because they know they can get a little bit of rest before the postseason? I don't know. I don't know if it's real or not, right? It could have just easily been, this guy did everything the previous night. So throwing that one out there. But that being said, do they need to play him this evening? I don't know, right? Because that is a little bit of gal brain decisions on how far can you really move up these standings conversation that we had? Or are you better off just giving him a couple nights here now that you have Beef Stew back from the suspension and you can have Paul Reed play some backup 5? So I think there's a chance, Duran misses again this evening, and they just rest him up a little bit more before the postseason. That being said, the last Q tag could have been just a little bit of a late scratch, fake one to get him some rest on the back to back, and then now he's good to go again. So you can read that scenario both ways. Either way, I think you have to draft him when he falls to the third round there, and then you can just get some clean swaps to him. I think maybe that's a really interesting conversation to have, is the swappability and the viable swaps that are going to be available to you if you do take the Q tags, right? Because if you take the Andrew Wiggins Q tag, for instance, like Miami has some back end pieces that go undrafted that could turn out to be viable plays this evening. Davion Mitchell goes almost every single time, but Duncan Robinson could draw into the starting lineup and look half decent, especially if Highsmith and Burks are out. Same could be said for Larson there. Same could be said for Slow-Mo, but is, more unlikely of the bunch there. The same could be said for Jaime Jaquez if he randomly draws that start out of nowhere, where then he fills it up again with like those 23 minutes there, something like that. We know what Jaime Jaquez could do from a rates perspective. So there are some swaps for like a guy like Wiggins. And then the Duran one, there are some swaps as well because I should just put in Detroit there, because Beef Stew largely going undrafted. So he could easily be swapped into there. And then Paul Reed, we know what he can do from a rates standpoint. If he gets, north of 15, 18 minutes, 14 minutes against OKC, was able to put up 23 fantasy points with only 4 teams on a 2-game slate. A contrarian swap like that could be enough to get it done. That being said, Beef Stew will be the safer of the bunch. You saw it against Memphis, 34 minutes, 43 fantasy points coming back from the suspension. So Beef Stew, right now, if you want to play the Duran is out angle, go ahead and draft Beef Stew in the 6th round before other people are just swapping to him, because the CLV that you get on him as a 6th round pick, just juxtaposed to swapping in as a 3rd, could be all the difference you need on a slate this short, right? All right. Let's talk about the rest of the Pistons there. G Leaguers all listed as Q tags, and then Tobias Harris has the Q tag. Tobias Harris has missed 4 of the last 5 right now. In his absence, we have seen guys like Asar. We've seen guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. Granted, the Tim Hardaway Jr. stuff was without Cade as well. Really fill it up from a box score standpoint. So if you do take the Tobias Harris, there is going to be, some decent swappability for you. Probably not the likes of, Asar. Definitely not the likes of Asar, because he's going every single time in these drafts. But you could definitely swap into some Tim Hardaway Jr. 36, 30, 31, 28 fantasy points. Took a little bit of a back seat when Cade came back for the Memphis game there. Played 32 minutes still, though. So, there's non-zeros to swap into if things break wrong. So long-winded way of saying playing the Q-tag game will be particularly important today. Okay, is there anything else I want to say on that? I think if everything breaks clean in the first game of the slate, the Detroit and the Sacramento game there, I anticipate Keon, Levine, DeRozan, Keegan, Sabonis, and then Monk, Lyles as the first guys up off the bench. And then they're going to be so condensed and they're playing such big minutes that I'm not sure you want to scroll to anybody else. Maybe Joe Val in the last round, just from a rates standpoint, but like his minutes are going to be so capped with Sabonis back and playing full. Yeah, I mean, throw a dart at Devin Carter? I don't think so. There's going to be other spots to get to. On the Detroit side, I think it'd be Cade, Tim Hardaway Jr., Asar, Tobias, and Duran if Tobias and Duran can't go tonight, Cade, Tim Hardaway, Asar, Beef Stew, and then I think Simone Fontecchio. And nobody's drafting Simone Fontecchio, but maybe that's one you can wait on. And maybe that's not one to get ahead of, because I think you'd probably still rather play Malik Beasley or Dennis Schroeder in the last round off the bench. I think you'd rather play those options than get to it. Nick, aka New Jersey Nick, telling us it's a Kyle Anderson day, playing some of those Miami Q tags as out and slow-mo drawing into the starting lineup. I mean, we've seen it. But Spoelstra, we call him we call him Steve Kerr East, because you have no idea what you're going to get from that starting lineup on a given day, right? All right, let's bounce over to that Heat and 76ers game. This is a 2-13. Sorry, something in my eye. This is a 2-13. So, it's 16 points less than the other one, and the Heat are 13-point favorites despite all the Q tags. 13-point favorites does indicate to me, though, that at least one of Hero and Bam would play. That's how I would read 13, but who knows? I don't have a good read on the Q tag scenario there. You can read it both ways. 76ers side there, Justin Edwards with the Q tag, a rib contusion, all the usual suspects listed as out, aka George, Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Oubre, Yabusele, etc., Drummond, everybody, right? Then we have a Q tag on Kyle Lowry, which is kind of like, why are we doing this? Why does Kyle Lowry even want to come back and play basketball for this team at the tail end of the season at his age? Just wait till next year, kind of thing. But So Justin Edwards is interesting because he played 11 minutes last time out and then left mid game. So that is a real injury. Let's call it that, compared to just a Q tag. It is listed as a rib contusion, as I previously said there. I anticipate if everyone can go this evening and it's really just Justin Edwards that we're concerned about, I can't imagine Kyle Lowry plays like impactful, meaningful minutes this evening, even if he does find his way to availability. He played 3 games ago, I think it was. And it was, 15 minutes or whatever against the Knicks, 16 minutes against the Knicks. I don't think he's draftable in our game, even in the last round, even on a 2-game slate there, because I don't think he pushes it anywhere north of like that 20-minute mark, and he would have to, kind of thing, for us to care about it. I think on the Sixers stuff, it'll be Lonnie Walker, Butler, Grimes, Bona at the 5, and then it'll probably be Edwards if he's available. And if he's not, I would guess they go Ricky Council, and they still do the Jeff Doughton managing of the contract stuff and list him as inactive. But maybe they need the bodies tonight, because if Kyle Lowry and Justin Edwards can't go this evening, we are kind of looking at the starting core 3 or 4, I guess, in Butler, Walker, Grimes, Bona. Then they have Colin Castleton, who they signed after the Raptors got rid of him. They got Jalen Hood-Schifino from the Lakers. He's been there for a while now, but not really playing anything crazy impactful. They got Marcus Bagley. So, yeah, I think it would have to be Ricky Council. But this is interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of ugly out here, guys. It's kind of ugly, that back end 76ers stuff. So, in terms of playable pieces on our site today, obviously it's going to be Grimes, Butler, Bona, and then you can kind of decide if you want to play the Q tag with Edwards. He's fallen to the 6th round. a couple times there. Colin Castleton had some nice games, but the games in which he had nice games for the Raptors, he played like 39 minutes and stuff like that. I'm not sure that's on the table for him in this environment. Um, I mean, maybe if Lowry and Edwards and Doughton were all out and Reese, and then he somehow started at the 4 and then played back up 5, maybe you could get like a monster Castleton spot, but I don't see how the minutes will go his way this evening. Yeah, so I'm kind of sticking with this top 5. And then if we get Edwards out, I think you can swap to Castleton or Council, whoever draws into the starting lineup. I think Hood Shafino is obviously a better play without Kyle Lowry. As you guys can see, there was some push pull with that Knicks game. The game that he missed or the game that he did not play was the game in which Lowry played those minutes. So if Lowry's in, I think Hood Shafino's appeal goes down, and vice versa to if Lowry's out. So I do think there's an interesting push pull there. And then I think the push pull on Justin Edwards is Ricky Council. So if you guys are thinking about swaps, you guys are thinking about 6-round scrolls, that sort of deal, you could do worse. Ricky Council was playing big minutes before he sat that second half, and they opted to go the Jared Butler, Lonnie Walker route there, and they've kind of stuck with it for the last 3 games since then. So yeah, we shall see this evening. Man, I told you guys this was a tricky push pull dynamic this evening. Yeah, our guy Nick saying it wouldn't be silly season without a Marvin Bagley in our lives, aka Marcus Bagley. Directionally accurate. Yeah, the Marvin Bagley stuff of years past, that's peak silly season. And this year we're dealing with Marcus Bagley. So, doesn't even have a picture on the site. But don't sleep on the fact that he's played, north of 18 minutes the last little while here. If you want a very contrarian scroll, almost everyone's in play in the 6th round on such a short slate today. Okay, let's talk about the Heat side. So the Heat side, it's a little bit impossible right now with the Q tag leans. I think you just have to take Bam and Hero in like the picks 3 through 8 kind of range and hope you encapsulate some of those Q tag falls. Hero missed last game. Bam played 42 and it went to overtime. Alec Burks has the Q tag with lower back discomfort, a Q tag that he has had previously this season and missed there. The Heat are playing for the positioning, as we talked about earlier. If you missed that little segment, roll it back. We talked about the implications of some of these games. Andrew Wiggins, if he comes back this evening, and even if he only plays, 20 or 22 minutes, and they're a little bit limited with, one of Hero sitting or one of Bam sitting, vice versa, he would be an absolute smash in the 6th round, and he falls to the 6th round the majority of drafts right now. So I do think you want to take some Wiggins in your life and then swap into, the Highsmiths of the world if he ends up playing and starting, or swap into Duncan Robinson as a last resort, or swap into Kyle Anderson if he finds his way into the starting lineup, or if Jaime Hawkins finds his way into the starting lineup, then you can go ahead and do it. One nice thing about this slate is we're probably going to have a decent amount of information because the games do lock, 30 minutes after the slate locks. So like the second game isn't like 2 hours later, which we're going to be dealing with in the playoff contest, guys, where it's like one game starts at 5 and one game starts at 8, or one game starts at 8 and one game starts at 10 or 11 Eastern, like that sort of thing. We'll be dealing with, a closer spread this evening in terms of game start time. So you're going to have to be ready with, to borrow the unabated phrase, the piss jugs ready to make sure you can get your swaps in there quickly. All right. That's kind of like all my thoughts. I think if we get everybody tonight for the Heat, obviously they're going to be big favorites. It's going to be that Hero, Burks, Wiggins, Bam, Ware starting lineup. Davion Mitchell's probably going to be first man up. Maybe you can flip-flop Burks and Duncan Robinson in that starting lineup if you end up with Burks out and then Robinson in. I think if you end up with Hero out, Davion Mitchell jumps into the starting lineup. So there's some push-pull there. I think if you end up with Wiggins out and Highsmith out, that then Nick is right. I think Slow-Mo would probably draw in at the 3. Now, never say never because it's Spoelstra, right? Like this lineup could break a million different ways, which makes the Heat very draftable with a lot of deep scroll viability here. Because if Jaime Jaquez starts, he's so damn playable. If Slow-Mo starts, aka Kyle Anderson, he's so damn playable. If Larson draws into the starting lineup, he's playable. We've seen some nice box scores from Pelle Larson in recent memory. But that being said, those came with Duncan Robinson out. So you guys can see this 30 minutes, 29, 30 minutes, that sort of thing. A little bit of push-pull with when Duncan Robinson is out, though he played 20 or 39 last game there, and Duncan Robinson played 31 alongside him. That was the game without Tyler Hero. Maybe let's go back in the time machine and take a little peek at that to just see how the rotations broke. That might be a pretty good indicator for us. That was on that was the overtime game. Okay, so that's why the box scores look pretty big in terms of minutes played. That was the game that they lost to Giannis and the Bucks there. Let's take a look here. Khalil Ware only played 18 in that one. Okay. I'm only seeing one foul in the first rotation for Khalil Ware. Khalil Ware had no fouls in the second rotation, so it wasn't a foul thing. They just opted in the second half. I guess they liked the second half unit for the Bucks. They turned to Kevin Porter Jr. and Andre Jackson Jr. instead of playing a lot of Kuzma and a lot of Ryan Rollins. So the counter was less Khalil Ware for Miami. Interesting. Okay. And they played a shit ton of Davion Mitchell where he closed. He didn't leave the court from the third quarter onward, ended up with 39 minutes. Huh. So without Hero and with the other team opting to not play as much Gary Trent, there was a stretch without Brook Lopez on the floor, and there was a long stretch without Kuz and Ryan Rollins there. They opted to play small and play Pelle Larson and play Davion Mitchell a shit ton. Interesting. Slow-Mo did close this game. Ended up playing 32 minutes. So if there's any indication of what they liked at the tail end of last game, maybe they roll with Slow-Mo again this game because they liked what they saw with it closing last game. Obviously a completely different beast in dealing with the 76ers, though. Although that being said, as long as they don't play Castleton and Bona alongside each other, there's a non-zero chance that you don't have to play Bam and Ware beside each other. But if Bam sits and Ware plays the 5, Ware's going to look great. Man, there are so many moving pieces on this slate. There are so many moving pieces. So I think when you go into a draft, let's go ahead and hop into a draft here so we can see what it looks like on the fly. I think that's going to be the best way to talk about it. I think what you do with your opening picks in a draft is going to govern what we decide to close our drafts with. So if we play, Hero and Bam in, well, obviously our scroll pieces are going to be less desirable, or our third and fourth round pieces are going to be less desirable to get to Khalil Ware. Because what's Khalil Ware's ceiling path this evening? It's probably Bam sitting, or, he stays on the floor and plays 36 because they play big, which means you probably don't want Slow-Mo on that team in the 6th round, right? I mean, not that it can't work. I'm just thinking out loud in terms of how we think through the game theory of our push-pull ceilings and the combos available. Crazy fucking slate. Crazy slate. I do love, especially when we get into the postseason, I do love these 4-gamers, or these, 4-team 2-gamers. They are fun. They are fun. Yeah, Tuna talking about Lonnie Walker. Yeah, Lonnie Walker's like firmly entrenched in play today. Like, not even close. Like, yeah, he gets drafted every damn time. 37 minutes last time against Minnesota. Not a big stock ceiling guy, but at least we know he's a professional basketball player, which is a lot more that could be said for some of the other names that you could be scrolling to on this slate. Ooh. All right, we got our friend Max Kings in here. We got the Power Man, and we got Respooked, aka Riley Taylor. 4 red badges, cooking it up in the streets. Sabonis goes 1-0-1 here. I think it's Cade here. I think even if you knew Bam or Hero could play full this evening, I think Cade would probably still project ahead if you give him 30 minutes. If you give Cade 28 and then you take Bam or Hero out, I think you could project one of them ahead, if that makes sense. So if Hero is out and Highsmith is out, I think you could project Bam ahead of Cade. I wouldn't draft it that way though. But if you wanted to do some contrarian, spin zone-y stuff. If we knew Duren was going to play this evening, I think Duren's the pick here, even though it is paired with Cade. I think I like Levine, especially with the Q tag scenario there and the way he played yesterday, the last 2 games rather. I think I like Levine more than Butler. I think I want the closer of the 2 game environments. I think I want the team that is playing for something. I think I want the minutes of I like that Bona pick. I was just about to say that I think I like Bona more than Butler too. Okay. Here's where it gets fun. I did misspeak earlier about Wiggins falling to the 6th. I've not seen him fall to the 6th. I'm sorry about that. I was in reference to falling to the 4th. My apologies. I think there is a stopgap for Butler just because the minutes look pretty secure. I think he starts at the 1 tonight. I think we just go ahead and take Butler. He could score a little bit. We've seen him have some big box scores for the Wizards earlier this season. He did it like hyper efficiently, which is, not something we tend to want to bet on. But yeah, they were definitely outlier games. Duren goes there. Nick saying in the morning, New Jersey time, Wiggins was going much later. Yeah, I saw him going much later when I was drafting this morning as well, Vancouver time. But yeah, I think the projection's been altered a little bit on him, and that's moved him a little bit there, but he is definitely a faller. Okay, so now that we start playing the Q tags game, out of this area, I think Wiggins is obviously the highest ceiling, but I think we can take Monk here. I think if Ellis, I think Monk is okay on his own. I think Monk is fine in the 4th round. But if Ellis and Keegan Murray don't go and Monk draws back into the starting lineup, Monk should be going where Jared Butler just went. Okay? So Monk is a smash in terms of CLV if the Q tags break the right way for him. Now, I think the Kings have a lot to play for. I think the Kings are going to do the most that they can to ensure those Q tags play this evening. Oh, damn, beef stew. That is a very interesting pick there. Oh, okay, never mind. Duren went on the other side. He did the Bona thing. I really like that beef stew pick. He was going to be my next pick here. I think we take Wiggins here because of this grouping. I think he has the highest ceiling, even if he does only play like 22 minutes or something like that. And I do think there are pretty clean Wiggins swaps, as we talked about. And that's something we can just deal with a little bit later when we have some more information. Like right now, we could guess and we could be like, let's take Kyle Anderson, or let's take let's take Jaime Jaquez, or let's take something like that. But there's a non-zero chance that those players could be flat zeros. By taking Wiggins, Now we open up the potential door of staying on the clock to see, hey, are we going to swap to Highsmith, Duncan Robinson? Are we going to swap to those kind of guys? So, yeah, I think there's two ways to play this slate. It's doing what Max Kings is doing right now and saying, okay, Trey Lyles is going to play 20 or 40 minutes again, and these other guys are going to sit, and Beef Stew is going to start because Duran's going to sit and he's going to play 34 minutes and he's going to play that. And even if those two players, the Q tags break the wrong way in front of them, they still have viability on this slate. He probably doesn't win with this team, but they are still viable because they'll still play like 18 to 20 minutes, whereas the same can't be said for like Kyle Anderson, right? Schroeder and Beasley go there. I think Keon Ellis pairs poorly with this team, given that we're making a bet on Malik Monk here. I think Justin Edwards has a real chance to miss this evening, but if we take the Q tag, we can then swap into, Castleton or Ricky Council. But that being said, there's also the potential that we get last swap priority on this slate because we're taking that swap in the last round there, that the guys in front of us, all those Q tags would swap to that player we want first. So I think in the last round, it's fine to just throw a dart at a player that we think could jump into a starting lineup if the Q tags don't break. So let's take Ricky Council there. So we end up with Cade Cunningham. Hope he plays 30 tonight. Zach Levine, who feels really safe and feels like he should be going ahead of Jared Butler in most drafts there. Then we take Jared Butler with a little bit of a fall. Then we take Malik Monk, hoping that he draws into the starting lineup because Keon Ellis can't go this evening. Then we have Andrew Wiggins, who can then turn into a swap for, let's look who's still available. Justin Edwards is still available there, but if we look at the Heat, it could turn into Duncan Robinson. It could turn into Kyle Anderson going into the starting lineup. It could turn into Jaime Jaquez going into the starting lineup. Like all guys that we're going to like this evening in a plus matchup sort of thing. So that's how we play that one. And then Ricky Council, we just swing for the fences at the end because instead of taking another swap piece here, we just want to say, hey, he's the guy who draws into the starting lineup at the expense of somebody else's lineup, aka I guess nobody took Edwards. So maybe Max Kings took Edwards at the end. So it'd be at the expense of the Edwards drafter. We gain leverage by taking Ricky Council. Let's rip one more of those because they're short and sweet, and there's a lot of game theory and there's a lot of mindset to go into how you build your rosters in this one. There is a little more merit on these 2-game slates to building game stacks as well. If one of these 2 games happens to play closer, or if one of these 2 games happens to go to overtime, those ones, game correlation plays so much higher on the shorter the slate. The shorter the slate, the more impactful it is. If you end up with like the Heat having everybody in and they beat the brakes off the 76ers and you just want to have a game stack from the other game that's close and Sacramento is running full the whole night kind of deal. This is a very good precursor. And I think there was a lot of good macro takeaways, guys, for what we're going to be doing come the postseason contest, because we're going to be dealing with some 4-game slates, some 3-game slates, and then at the end of basketball season there, we're going to be doing 2-game slates, right? We're going to be doing cross night slates and that sort of deal. So yeah, I get this, Cole. Yesterday he fully retired till the end of regular season of hoops. I fully get it, man. I fully get it. That's why the prize pool is down to 50K today. That's why the baseball prize pools are inflated today. I think a lot of people echo the sentiments there, but I do think there is, if you want to put in the time and you want to think through the combos and you want to think through the rotations and you want to, be ready for some of this breaking news, I do think this is peak edge season. Like we talk about silly season being some of the biggest edges. If you are ahead on, the G League tracker, if you're ahead on some of that stuff. This is a good point from Nick. The main macro difference between today's slate and the postseason slate is less silly season in terms of the Q tags and more of the condensing of rotations around the stars, which make them a little bit easier to draft there. Last draft here, guys. I don't want to do any NBA pick'em stuff yet because so much of this can just get buried right away by the Q tags. Like if we did like some hires right now on slow mo, we're kind of just guessing. I think it's fine to do in the draft game environment. I think it's probably bad to do in the pick'em lobbies. So I'm going to steer clear of doing any pick'ems on the show today for basketball. I think we take Levine here. And then I do think we could take Bona, who is probably a little bit better than a Duran play. I think Duran is a or sorry, let me rephrase that. I think Duran is a way better play than Bona if we get full Duran this evening. I'm a little scared and I want to build a team that kind of like paints a different narrative. So I'm going to pass on Duran. I think Duran is falling. I've seen him fall as far as the fourth round in some of these rooms. Yeah, so let's do this one like that. I like the Asar Thompson pick, kind of similar to Beef Stew there, where it's like if Tobias is in and or out, Asar is fine either way. But then if Tobias and Duran end up being out, Asar, he's going to project so much better there. So there's just some push pull, but there also is a floor in taking Asar right there, right? Instead of just taking the Q tag and taking a flat swap. All right. Fire up some of my baseball stuff on the side right here so we can get ready for the next one. There we go. Wiggins. Duran goes at 13. That's kind of the standard spot for him. Wiggins going in the fourth round as well. Tobias Harris would fit nicely on this team, but I think I'd rather opt for the Malik Monk Galbrain play again there. And then I think Harris is fine here. I'm a little scared about the minutes in terms of like not needing to run him full when they are kind of already locked in the playoffs there, so they can kind of rest him or like, soft give him minutes. So I think Beasley could draw into the starting lineup tonight if Q tags break right. That being said, I think Beef Stew probably has the highest ceiling of if a Q tag breaks right, i.e. Duran, that Beef Stew becomes a great pick. So I think Beef Stew, let's take a look at the board here. I think Beef Stew, if Duran got ruled out right now, I think Beef Stew would probably go at pick 11, pick 10, 11, something like that. I think Asur Thompson versus Beef Stew, I'd probably rather have Thompson. So I think he would probably be in the Butler, Lonnie Walker, Davion Mitchell range. That's how I would treat it. I like what Riley's doing here. So Riley passes from the 3-hole on both Hero and Bam. And he goes, they're both not playing this evening. And what does that mean for my roster? That Khalil Ware is worth the 6th overall pick and Davion Mitchell is worth the 14th overall pick. And then he goes, well, I didn't take Sabonis, so I'll get the highest Sacramento player in my mind in DeMar there. And I didn't get Monk, so I'm going to take Keegan Murray there. I think that's a very intelligently constructed roster there. Again, we have the Keon Ellis decision. I think I will just take the swap here in Edwards after slow-mo went. We could also take Castleton and have a little fun. That being said, I think Edwards starting and playing alongside Bona is a lot more likely and better outcome for this team than Castleton, because Castleton, he would probably cannibalize the ceiling of Bona more so than Justin Edwards would. So let's take Justin Edwards. Hopefully it just turns into a swap, which will probably just turn into one of the Miami pieces or Ricky Council if he draws into the starting lineup. So yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's move on here. Yeah, guys, I hear a lot of you guys in the Discord and I hear a lot of you guys on stream and stuff. I'm not going to comment on the Spags stuff. I've always had good experiences with Spags. I've been on the shows with Spags. I think he's a nice guy. I think he handled the scenario a little different than I might have handled the scenario That being said, I don't know all the facts. I didn't watch all the streams. I don't have any comments on that. I see you guys talking about it in the chat there. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I've always enjoyed my interactions with Specs. That's all I can say on that. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the baseball slate here. A 7-gamer, kind of unfortunate, just the timing of the baseball slate. Just with these games, how here? Let me jump over to Unabated on the baseball screen. There, get rid of the NBA news for a second. Just kind of a little unfortunate. Like and we need the time for the drafting window to not be able to sneak, Dodgers, Red Sox, and this sort of stuff. Pirates and Cardinals onto these slates, but 7 games is plenty to deal with and awesome. I think my favorite slates are 10, that sort of deal. And I do see the especially with a basketball slate at the same time. I do agree with what the draft game team in Numi and Hope, etc., did in starting the slate at 4:10, aka 7:10 Eastern there, because it's still a beautiful, nice 7-gamer here. We'll start the show where we always start the show, and that is with weather. I have multiple resources for weather this season. I'm really enjoying using Ballpark Pal this year. I do think I've been kind of tracking, as I said, in recent memory, their park factors juxtaposed to Weather Edge's park factors. I'll show them on screen every now and then. I tend to show the free resources more so than other ones, just because I like to respect the paywall aspect. That being said, Unabated's our home, so we always share that. But I'll keep some of the Ballpark Pal stuff, behind the paywall and that sort of deal in the future. But I will share it today because I do think it's very interesting. We'll look at Roth here in terms of weather. Here's another good reason. Just hat tip to Numi and Hope to keep those games off of the slate is all 3 of them did have weather concerns. Those earlier of the games starting at the 6:45 benchmark. So good recognition on their point, or on their part, rather. Sorry. Yeah. So we're dealing with a couple of indoor games here, obviously in Arizona and Baltimore. There's an indoor game in Arizona, though the roof does sound like it's going to be open this evening. We are dealing with one awful, ugly, terrible, gross flurries and wind blowing in. And are they even going to play baseball, or is it too gross to even play? Peak pitching weather conditions with the Cubs and the Rangers. As you guys can see, that run total, higher, lower, 5.5 right now. And you can see that it has been bet down from 6.5 last night on a lot of places there. This being a Canadian source, the Score. Actually, I don't know if you guys have that as well. I know you guys have the Score mobile app, but originally started in Ontario there as like just they actually had a TV channel back in the day, highlights only TV channel back in the day. So yeah, that's pretty crazy there. Yeah, I guess for those of you doing some pick'em stuff here, that it is snowing in Detroit, so be mindful of that. That game going to be live right now. So it's snowing in Detroit. Very memorable home run. Miguel Cabrera on opening day, his final season, opposite field home run in the snow. If you guys have seen that highlight, I guess that was 3 or 4 years ago now, dating myself ever so slightly there. But yeah. So yeah, here. Okay, here's a good question from Trevor. What other sites do you use for park factors besides Ballpark Pal? So yeah, I've been using the Ballpark Pal. I've been using Roth's Weather and Weather Edge on Roto Grinders. I subscribe to that one. I always just show the free one there. I also always am diving into Baseball Savant's park factors and not using the rolling 3-year average, but using the game by game and just seeing kind of like how the ball's been flying in certain yards. Now it's really noisy. You have to go back and look at what the weather was on those days or remember what that slate was and stuff like that. But those are, primary resources. I do have a little bit of a historical database that I do have for myself on the side. But yeah, it's nothing overly sophisticated. I'm not that sharp, as you guys are well aware. So yeah, those would probably be really good resources to use here. But I do really like. Here you go. Here's the. I'll share it today. Not a sponsor of the show. Maybe reach out in the future. But I do really like what they've been doing here, just showing you like this is how bad Texas is playing today. That in terms of runs, down 31%. In terms of home runs, down 55%. That is the worst on the slate. Obviously, this is based on their simulations. But yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily need to go this intricate with it. You can kind of, figure that out on your lonesome when you just look at this free resource and go, yuck, 32 degrees, gusts up to 30, winds blowing in from left at 15 degrees, or 15 miles per hour. It's only going to be 20 degrees. Like, there's a non-zero chance this baseball game doesn't get played today. I wonder if anyone in the chat has boots on the ground in Chicago there to let us know if it is snowing yet, or what's kind of going on there. But like, man, that looks ugly. Like, even Coors, when it was snowing the other day, and we know it has the biggest outfield in all of baseball, and we knew there was bad pitching, and we knew it was Coors like that. Even Coors the other day, played down in terms of the run total on the opening game of the opening slate of the year in Coors. I believe that was the Friday last week against the Athletics. And then you see it warm up in quotations. It was like 50 degrees or whatever on Sunday, and the ball's fucking flying. And there was way better pitching on the mound on Sunday than on Friday. So yeah, just be mindful, right? Did Judge homer? Judge making it look like it's mid-January, or is he just wearing all this all the gear? Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Like what he's wearing. I got you. Okay, never mind. I read that in my mind saying January. I read it as July, but it's so dumb. All right. Andrew's got boots on the ground for us, and he said it's snowing, mate. It snowed briefly, but sun's out in Chicago. Very windy though. Okay, cool. All right. So we got mixed reviews out here, and yeah, just to be mindful of. Okay, so let's start with the macro of the slate here. Go back to the beautiful Black and Yellow Dog app. We got a couple lineups rolling in already. Obviously, guys, make sure you are push notifications on for Underdog MLB there. No underscores anymore. Got that one squared away there. Don't fall for the fake accounts with the Underdog GG, the two Gs. Don't fall for that. I think this is a very strong pitching slate. I think there's a lot of high strikeout upside arms here, especially if we do get the Chicago and Texas game to play. I mean, you have SP 6 and 7, who are both veteran guys who are fully extended, who will be able to go deep in a ball game in really good pitching conditions. So I'm a little scared, of the potential rain out, snow out. They don't play this game. It's too ugly for these guys, but you can get a swap, and you can get a swap to, some non-terrible arms, because, if you're taking these guys, you're most likely going to have, Logan Webb left on the board, or Zach Gallen left on the board by somebody. I'm not touching Hayden Wisnowski today. He has a very big problem with right-handed power, and the Mariners lineup is better against right-handed power than it is, or against right-handed pitching than it is against left-handed pitching. That being said, I'm going to play both sides of that game, but I'm not going to draft Hayden Wisnowski today. Michael Lorenzen, once upon a time, all-star and former two-way player, that sort of thing. You could do worse than swapping to any of these guys at the back end here. That being said, I'm stacking against Severino for the most part. I think San Diego is probably my favorite stack on the board, maybe my second favorite stack on the board today. But you could swap to Lorenzen, or you could swap to Woods Richardson, who, decent prospect, who I never get right, but had a good first start there with the 5Ks, only went 4 innings. So if you do want to play pitching in this game, and the worst case scenario happens that they don't play this game, I do think the swap options are fine to include them in your portfolio. But that being said, I think there's a lot of really high upside arms. We saw it from Michael King in a tough matchup last time out against Cleveland, though Cleveland strikes out way more with this iteration of their lineup than lineups in years past here. But he had 11 punch outs in his first one there, 88 pitches, 18 fantasy points there. I think the same applies to Hunter Green, even though the Giants are on a tear right now to start the season. Yeah, NL West, man, look out. I think there's 3 losses combined between the top 3 teams in the NL West there. Giants sweeping the Mariners over the weekend there. I don't know if you guys saw any of that Giants game, but yeah, it's pretty awesome that there was a therapy rabbit in the stands. Like this guy was just carrying around this big ass rabbit with a Giants hat on. It was pretty fucking funny. Oh man, the therapy rabbit was legend. But yeah, Senga had a really nice start. He gets the best matchup against Miami. Xavier Edwards was late scratch yesterday, leading off. So obviously the Miami Marlins lineup looks a little bit worse and a little more watered down if Xavier Edwards isn't there to lead off, one of their non-quad A hitters. Shout out to Matt Mervis yesterday. Mervis, former Cubs prospect and a guy that they wanted to win third base and or win first base after Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo left. Didn't work out, but he homered twice. One was lefty too, and was an absolute nuke in yesterday's ball game there. So man, that was fun to see. A real cheeky scroll the F down today against Senga. I probably won't get there today, but just good to see good former prospects getting shit done out there. I think my favorite, let me finish with the pitching stuff. I think price adjusted favorite pitcher on the slate today. I'm hesitant to say Zach Gallen and it be quote unquote recency bias because of what he just did against the Yankees. But Baltimore's a very tough lineup. I will play both sides of that game. But if Zach Gallen is going to be underrepresented and underdrafted because of Justin Steele and Nathan Eovaldi going ahead of him, I will try and be slightly overweight Zach Gallen. That being said, I'm going to be very spread at pitcher today. I like the Hunter Green ceiling. I like the Michael King ceiling. And I like the Zach Gallen ceiling in terms of chasing Ks. That's where I'm at. I think Logan Webb is probably the safest in parentheses to, go for the quality start and go for the win because he's just a professional ass pitcher who gets ground balls, right? And that bodes very well. But that being said, I'm going to have stacks of the Reds today as well. So I'm going to play both sides of that ball game. I'm going to play both sides of the Arizona and Baltimore game. I'm going to play only pitching in the Texas and the Cubs game. I'm going to play both sides of San Diego and the Athletics because we have no idea what this ballpark is yet. The short wall in center field. We know there's big time power on the Athletics side. They displayed it all weekend at Coors. And now we get an opportunity where they're in their home ballpark that might even be better than Coors for home runs. So yeah, it's going to turn into soft fade of Senga, even though I love the spot for him. And I think he pitched really well last time out because of the price. Just price adjusted. I think there's a lot of really high ceiling pitching options that you don't need to get overweight SP1 today. And as Andrew is saying in the chat here, it's just very easy to grab Gallen with your 6th round pick. That's how I feel, man. That's how I feel. Yeah. Pitch asking, do you think projection sites, sports books still underestimate run potential in Sacramento? Absolutely. Yes. I have not seen the market catch up yet. I'm fully in the camp that ballpark is fucking bandbox, man. I think it is small. I think it's Great American Small Park, but on the West Coast. It's a PCL park. I think A's are very underpriced today. That being said, we know what Michael King can do against a team that can strike out a lot. If Lawrence Butler is going to be a 30% strikeout guy instead of the small sample size 22% that he was last year, there's a lot of strikeouts available at the top of that lineup. But there's also a lot of fucking pop available. So if they run into a couple and shorten the leash on Michael King, that being said, San Diego's bullpen is pretty nice behind them as well. I'm going to want some skinny stacks Maybe not 5-man athletics today, but definitely some skinny stacks, but never say never. Cole saying he's going to do 5-man A's stacks. Sure. I won't fight you on it at all. I think you can kind of go a lot of places today. The most obvious place for me is just full fade Texas and Chicago, but we know that they have good hitters on those teams, but the conditions just look so bad to me on paper right now. And based on what y'all are saying in the chat, let's talk about the bats a little bit. My favorite bat on the slate, period, flat out, 100%, doesn't have the handedness advantage today. It's Fernando Tatis Jr. He projects the highest in my stuff there. He is definitely up there for Cardi. I believe he is. Let me refresh Cardi here. Oh, he's Cardi's favorite hitter too. What a surprise. Me and Cardi in lockstep again with Jordan yesterday and now Tatis today. So handshakes there. San Diego stack is going to be very important for me to be getting to. I am a Luis Severino respecter, but the Cubs got to him in a big way in that ballpark last time, and I just think the ballpark factor is going to be very tough. And with bad hitting conditions in a lot of other places, I'll go ahead and take the smaller ballpark with the West Coast start time with the 67 degrees on the slate, which is the warmest by a good margin comparative to even San Francisco this evening. Yeah. So I think favorite stack on the slate is going to be Slam Diego. Second favorite is going to be playing both sides of the D-backs and the O's game. I think just the fact that it's indoor, the fact that the roof's open, there's decent professional ass pitching on both sides of that with Zach Eflin and Zach Gallen. But, Eflin got hit pretty hard in his first time out and is not a huge strikeout rate guy. So I'm going to be going to Arizona in a decent way today. Corbin Carroll came alive. I like Arizona in a vacuum better against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. That being said, so much of that is Ketel Marte, and Ketel Marte is not there right now. So auxiliary San Diego bats and auxiliary Arizona bats as scroll the F downs. Perdomo hitting in the 2-hole, something like that as to put in your Corbin Carroll stacks. Maybe Pavin Smith ends up hitting third again. You get the handedness advantage there. Although left-handed power, reminder, plays worse in Arizona than the vast majority of parks in the big leagues. I still like the spot. Give me Gavin Sheets as a one-off home run today. Fuck yeah. Let's do it. Soderstrom day. I mean, yeah, why not? He's quote unquote hot. Last 3 times out, he homered yesterday. Soderstrom displaying some big time power. Most likely just going to reside in the middle of that lineup with the handedness advantage today. I took Soderstrom in 2 of my first 4 drafts, just as a one-off at the back end or with a skinny stack with Brent Rooker. Shea Langeliers sat out yesterday. Evergreen reminder, catchers on Sundays, catchers on getaway days, catchers before the series changes over. I do think the most mispriced hitter on the entire slate right now is Yordan Alvarez. I mean, this is crazy. I know it's not the best ballpark in the world, but at least it's indoors today. At least it's going to hover around that 50 degrees. I know Logan Gilbert is a really good professional ass pitcher who can touch 100. Yordan's got to him before. Yordan gets to everybody. Yordan is absolutely crushing the baseball. He should have had more. It's always Soderstrom's day, says Davis. Yes, this is true. Actually, Davis, this morning when I was drafting, I was doing on the app and I accidentally kind of the app occasionally glitches out when you're messing with the queue. And I got 5 Soderstroms in the queue and I tried to screen grab it really quickly and it went away and it went back to the players that I previously had in the queue and just 1 Soderstrom by the time I hit the screen grab, because if I had got those all 5, I was going to tweet it at you and share that it was Davis's queue was just 5 Soderstroms. It was pretty good, but it was unfortunate I didn't get there. Oh man. Davis's dream draft. Perfect. Here you go. Yeah, Jordan's the number 1 bat Gilbert's looking to avoid. This is true. We got to think about spots like this, but there's a lot of other guys in that lineup that can do a lot of damage. And
if you put runners on base, there's certain guys you can just never avoid, So I do think he plays okay as a skinny 2-man stack with like him and Isak or him and Altuve, something like that. It being avoided in a lineup also scores fantasy points, because he has a really keen eye at the plate. He's one of the best professional hitters in all of baseball. He could put up 12 fantasy points at the outfield position today, and he's probably not going to win you a slate, but he's certainly not going to lose you a slate, especially at his 23 ADP there. I just want to bring it to people's attention, like the ballpark pal, right? They do simulations of a slate, and yesterday they projected on a 15-game slate a very low home run total for the entirety of the slate. I believe it was something like 28 or 27, something like that. And what wound up happening on yesterday's slate, here we can go to the results of yesterday, was we only had 23 total home runs in 15 games. I mean, guys, baseball is just one of these sports where like weird shit happens like that on a day-to-day basis here, where like you don't necessarily need every player on your team to be the nuts, right? Like you don't need like here's my best lineup, 21st place yesterday. Aaron Judge is somehow in there with 3. If that's any other player, maybe we win yesterday, but it was a little Houston 2-man, Colorado 2-man. Let's see the winning lineup here. Obviously, you needed that 40 from Teoscar and Doyle with the 30. But here's Michael Tolia, 6 points in the winning lineup. And this is the winning lineup of the entire contest. This isn't basketball. This isn't football. All you have to do is beat your opponents. You don't have to have the nuts. You don't need the best score. And sometimes like just not going 0-4 is like so impactful. And that's where if you have some really talented hitters who are in bad situations, such as, Yordan Alvarez or Gunnar Henderson, and you just use them as a one-off tack on in the last round, they can still be viable enough if you get the skinny stack in your lineup correct, right? So yeah, just being mindful of this, right? Yeah. Yes. We're saying the same thing here, Andrew. I wasn't trying to dunk on your point or anything like that. I was just kind of articulating a point and using you as a jump off spot to do so there. Yeah, what else can I say on this one? Getting to the Mets is fine. I think Pete Alonso's in a really good home run spot today, but so does the market. I probably will have basically no Matt Wallner today at that price point, but that's kind of evergreen. I rarely play the Twins. I think Vinny Pasquantino is a really interesting one-off because he'll almost always be paired with Bobby Witt Jr. So just thinking through combination stuff, if you do like a little skinny KC stack that doesn't involve Bobby Witt, I think that's a decent contrarian path. Not enough people are going to be playing Seattle, the Giants, or the Reds today as decent stacks or full stacks. So I do think there's some credence in getting there. Julio Rodriguez is smoking hot right now, and he was just in an awful ballpark there, hitting nukes. A 31 there, a 14 there, homered in 2 of the last 3. Yeah, and we talked about how Hayden Wisniewski, he struggles with right-handed power. So I think some 2-man skinny stacks for the Mariners are definitely in play. Victor Robles is not going to play baseball today. It looked as if he broke his wrist. I haven't seen an update on it. Pretty gnarly ass catch where he went into the netting in right field in the 9th inning of yesterday's game. I think that is probably bullish for JP Crawford. I think he probably moves to the top of that lineup. Luke Raley and Jorge Polanco will probably be back in that one today. Rowdy Tellez as a one-off home run pick is less than crazy. Walker and Alvarez. Alvarez is a one-off. Alvarez with Altuve. Alvarez with Yanier, Diaz. All of it's fine today, even though Logan Gilbert is a tough matchup. Pending where you look, run totals are going to fluctuate. Basically, the entire slate is between 3 and 4.5, pending where you look. So if you want to have a little bit of everybody, not going to fault you today. That's for sure. What else can we talk about? Um, yeah. Let's talk about maybe one contrarian. What if I go game by game here and I just hit you guys with like one contrarian one off in each of these? Um, Marlins probably going to have nobody but Matt Mervis and or probably Kyle Stowers. Probably be your best bet. The Mets, I think Pete Alonso, price adjusted, is my favorite bat just because he's cheaper than Lindor and Soto in drafts right now. Jesse Winker had a big weekend with multiple triples there. You could get to Winker today and do like a Winker Vientos skinny stack. Which game's next? Rangers and Cubs, I dead ass. I'm going to have 0. I'm going to have maybe one Kyle Tucker share, maybe one Corey Seager share, something like that. But I'm dead ass just going to play. It's baseball. Runs can be scored, but I'm just dead ass going to play none of it today. That's where I'm at. Maybe there's some leverage in everybody thinking that way and going there. Twins and Royals. Vinny Pasquantino for me. Obviously, Bobby Witt's the chalk there. Also, a little Hunter Renfrew spot doesn't look terrible in some of my stuff. On the Twins side, it's just the normal guys you'd expect to, but using Trevor Larnach as a pivot off of Matt Wallner feels intelligent. If Matt Wallner is going to be drafted at the frequency in which it appears he's going to be drafted. Next game up, O's and D-backs, probably going to be the game I'm most overweight here, just relative to the price point. Carroll is probably my fourth. Yeah, Carroll is probably my fourth highest projected hitter on the slate. So you're getting a little bit of a discount on him today. I think Perdomo is good as a skinny stack partner that is underpriced. I think Josh Naylor as like kind of a pick to click feels fun today. Jake McCarthy as a guy who can do it both with the long ball, extra bases, and steals. If you had to pick a one-off that is super contrarian from the O's side, give me Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn with the handedness advantage. I know left-handed power doesn't play well there, but if you one-off pick to click today, O'Hearn. Astros, as I alluded to, underpriced Yordan, by far my favorite there, but Yanyer Diaz is fine as well as a super contrarian scroll. Jorge Polanco on the Mariners side was playing some really good ball before a little bit of soreness and then a paternity leave stint there. So Jorge Polanco, probably never as a one-off, but if you wanted to do like Polanco plus Cal Raleigh or Polanco plus Julio, Polanco plus Randy Rosarena, I think that's probably something that nobody's going to get to, or not enough people are going to get to outside of the five-man stackers. Reds and Giants, probably going to play a little bit of both sides here, but I do prefer the pitching in this one. Spencer Steer had his first home run. We talked so much about his bat speed the other day, but he had his first home run. I don't really love any big home run plays on the Reds side against Webb, so I would probably not use any of them as just one-offs other than Ellie. But Jamir Candelario with the handedness advantage looks kind of like the best, I guess. And then on the other side, for me, it's always basically Ramos and Chapman and Adames popping. But, Lamont Wade, you can do worse. Wilmer Flores has a really nice start to the year, but obviously don't love it there. And then my most played game of the day is going to be this Padres and Athletics. I'm going to have both sides of it. I'm going to have some Michael King as well. So that's kind of where I'm at on that one. I like the Soderstrom shout from basically everybody in the chat there. He's going nice right now. I think Gavin Sheets as a full scroll the F down, handedness advantage, guy with some big time power to take advantage of that ballpark. Then Gavin Sheets is a guy that I'll get to on the Padres. And then I think let's go Seth Brown. Why not? Seth Brown with the longest tenured athletic, with the handedness advantage, with some outfield eligibility. Everyone who builds their athletic stacks is going to use Butler, Rooker, Blade, and then maybe even Miguel Andujar, who all have outfield eligibility on our site. Nobody's going to click Seth Brown today. Let's do a little skinny stack of Soderstrom and Seth Brown in the 5-6 or in the 5-7, something like that. As contrarian, contrarian skinny stack pick to click. So just a lot of little, bro science dumped ideas there. Some from my sheet, some from the park factors, some from what I've just been seeing in drafts thus far. Let's hop in here. I think I did 4 this morning, so this will be my 5th. Timmy Carr's got 75% Sheets so far. Holy shit, I'm not alone here. Sheets becoming a fan favorite. Sheets chance taking place of the Ha-Seong Kim chance from last year. Fuck yeah. I mean, I've always been a Gavin Sheets bull, man. I love it. T-Cage wanting to cry when he's from New York when it's baseball season. I'm sorry, bro. I know they're doing their best to get it back for you guys. All right, guys, we got almost 200 of us watching, 191 to be 100% honest here. Half you guys are on the YouTube side, half you guys are on the Rotorun side. Please do me a favor. If you happen to be on the X side, please jump over. You don't have to watch on that side, but just jump over, give it a like, a subscribe, notification. It's like 2 clicks, man. There's a link. I think I dropped it right below there somewhere. Yeah, I'll do that in a second here for everyone. So it makes it really, really easy. If you happen to be watching on the Twitter Spaces side, just helps us out. Does a lot for our metrics and keeps our dogs fed. Please and thank you. Give it a little retweet there from the Badge Bros account, and then I will find a link so that you guys can just click over real quickly there. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys so much showing out every single day. I love this community so much. So thankful of what this community has become, continues to be and grow into. And I said I wasn't going to comment on the Spag stuff earlier there, guys, just out of respect for him and not knowing all the details. But I am very, very thankful that we have never had to deal with anything like that. So I'm very thankful that I've never had to deal with any person in the community or anyone coming at me or anyone your takes are bad or dunking on me or that sort of thing. I'm very appreciative of how respectful and how nice everyone has always been to me coming into this space. Mad love to you guys. Let's be a man of our word here. Let's do San Diego, aka Slam Diego today. Let's do the Merrill and Manny Machado stack to start here. Merrill with the handedness advantage. I do like pitching options, a little bit better today than I do like back end bat options, though I do think the slate is decently balanced. So there is that. Sorry, just sharing that link real quick for everybody there so you guys can give it a little like, little subscribe. Andrew saying, ball. I appreciate it, man. I take a lot of pride in this. I do really like, I've said it many times before on the show that I do really, I like doing the show so much and care so much about the show, even more so than my own results. So I do take this stuff seriously. I do enjoy doing it. I do put in the prep time and that sort of stuff. So I appreciate you saying that because I do love it. I do love it. Shout out to JT McKenzie, one of the guys I missed off the top. Apologies to my guy, JT McKenzie, who won the main slate there on, I think, Saturday night. I'm so sorry, JT. You were on my notes and I missed it there. I believe it was Saturday night's Saturday strikeout slate here. There he is. Eggers is up there as well. There you go. Shout out JT McKenzie, who had the Shea Bang Lears swap in there. You needed that LA stack and you needed that skinny stack of Cincinnati without LA De La Cruz. Beautifully well-constructed team there. Lots of friends and family up here. Big Fungi, Brendo, Eggers, Chris, Notice. Oh, man. Great stuff for the community. I'm sorry I missed that one off the top there. I was so focused on making sure I got my season-long shout-outs in. Apologies to you, my friend. You deserve every bit of it. Truly talented player on the site, man. All right. Timmy asking if we're going to dabble in the best ball golf streets. I have reached out to last year's winner of the Albatross, hoping that we can do a members only stream this week. So really hoping to do that. Okay, interesting stuff here. Guys are doing some contrarian builds. Jordan has already gone here. We could do Pete Alonso as a one-off and a faller and take Senga with it just for contrarian sake. And then we can take a contrarian one-off with it. And then we could take a third stack piece to San Diego. I think that's pretty fun. I think I'm okay taking Senga and Pete Alonso at these price tags when somebody else is in the room. I haven't seen them fall this far previously because in most of the rooms, nobody has been eating the Chicago stuff, but Broncos Freak thinks the Chicago spot is okay, so he's eating that spot there. Interesting to see AJ Trey had the opportunity to do Lindor plus Soto plus Alonso, a stack that I haven't really seen yet, and he passed on it for Matt Wallner. Not something I would have done there, but just, power to him. Okay. Yeah, Brendo, our guy, multi-sport draft lead, absolutely. I'm gonna do my best, guys, to do some golf this week for sure. Excited about Masters. There's gonna be some specials. If you guys saw Sunday Conversation there from Presley, he did. Caleb Presley has his DJ. Why am I fumbling on my words? Dustin Johnson. One up there, and then in tandem with his most recent episode, Underdog is doing some pick'em stuff. So we'll do some fun pick'em stuff for the Masters there. JT McKenzie trying to not win my heart over by taking Luis Ariz. Never Luis Ariz. Actually, it was funny. I was watching a lot of the Coors broadcast over the weekend, and they kept calling Jacob Wilson right-handed Luis Arias because he hadn't struck out yet. He finally had his first strikeout in his 34th at-bat of the season there against Chase Delarte over the weekend there. Delarte. Dolander. Okay, guys, we got two-man Slam Diego. We're going to use Pete Alonso as a one-off, although we could add Nimmo and Jesse Winker to this, and we could do like the 2-3 kind of thing. But I think we're going to play the hits a little bit here. And we're either going to add a two-man skinny stack if it comes back to us. Or, Nimmo doesn't come back to us, so we don't have the decision anyways. So we could do Brent Rooker and, Soderstrom or Shea Langoliers. We could do Gavin Sheets and Rooker as like a one-off. Let's do what I said. I said I like Gavin Sheets as a one-off pick to click today. Let's skinny stack them here with the other left-handed power stick in Morel there. We could have done Cronenworth as well. And then we could do a one-off in terms of power stick. I think Brent Rooker's probably the best bet. I think Lawrence Butler's probably a decent second. I think Trevor Larnach is probably good too. I think Heliot Ramos is good. And I think Seth Brown would be fine as well. Just as one-off home run bets. But Rooker's undoubtedly going to project the best of the bunch. And we got pretty contrarian with our stack. And we got contrarian with our construction in terms of getting two ADP fallers on the team. Pete Alonso and Kodai Senga, making it harder to duplicate. We build ourselves a 3-1-1 with SP1 on the slate there. I do think Senga is my SP1. I just think relative to the price point, I'm going to be overweight, some other spots there. I think maybe you could make a case for Logan Gilbert as SP1, but I don't like the spot that much. And we did just see him get hit hard at home by Detroit. So maybe a little bit of a prove it spot for Logan Gilbert today. First, Justin Steele, if the weather plays, is going to be so much better than his current price point on the slate. So I do like that last one there. So yeah, I'm going to do one more draft and let's see if we can do this. Timmy Carr's asking, the 10 mans are back today. Love to see it. Love to see the cycle back up in the lobbies. Let's see if we can fill a cycle today. Only 13 max. We got 3 more spots in the cycle. Let's do a 10-man draft to close it here. This is my first 10-man draft of the season. I missed the previous cycle there, so hopefully a bunch of you guys can get in this one. Let's do the cycle together, and then we'll call it a show because I think there's a little too many moving pieces right now to build an NBA pick'em. There's just so much could make it dead before lock. So I'm going to wait for the projections and wait for lock to share something in the Discord there. So make sure you're part of the Deposit Kingdom Discord. I will share something a little bit later today. And if you guys are just rolling through, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. I see 240 of us hanging out. Please and thank you. Andrew's in here with us there. Eggers is in here with us. We've seen all kinds of friends and fam rolling through. Big Fungi, who had a top 10 over the weekend. Raise it. What is the best concert you've ever been to? Oh. I think I've told an iteration of this story before. I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of concerts in my life. I'm a big time music junkie that stems from my dad. My dad plays in a band, just for leisure's sake and whatnot. They actually performed on Saturday night at an event around here. And he collects like old vinyl and old guitars and all this sort of stuff, autograph stuff and whatnot. So my love of music stems through him. And because of that, I've had some very I think Bobby Witt is probably really good here. And I think Corbin Carroll is probably really good here because of the backstack viability of both of them. Let's put ourselves in a tough situation by taking Bobby Witt because I do think outfield is going to be more shallow in the 10 mans than I do think infield will be. So let's see. Let's see what it looks like. Let's have some fun. So I did this exercise. I guess it was last summer. We're at the cabin and everybody went out for the day and I just wasn't feeling it. And I was like, I'm just going to stay home, do some BBM drafts on the deck, have a couple cold ones by myself. And I like to shelf the phone sometimes for a bit and, just do some top 10 lists of, my favorite movies, my favorite songs, my favorite whatever, and just do it all top of mind and write it down. And I actually wrote down every concert I could remember I'd been to and just wrote them all down. And it's a very, very wide pendulum. I'm talking Lumineers and Mumford & Sons to Metallica and Pantera and Avenged Sevenfold. Like I've seen all those kind of things live too. I've seen Kendrick Lamar. I've seen Kanye. So it's a very broad spectrum. I've seen Tiesto and David Guetta and Electric Daisy Carnival. So it's a very, very wide spectrum of things that I like and been to. And, country music's my favorite. So I've been to, Alan Jackson and all the old guys, Alan Jackson and Garth Brooks and all those kind of guys. And then, Cody Johnson and Luke Combs and that sort of stuff as well. Riley Green we went to last week. So it's a very tough question to just pinpoint one. I do think some of the standouts have been like Foo Fighters, Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like some of those iconic bands do really stand out to me. Let's do Jordan. I told everybody I like Jordan. I do think Logan Gilbert's a good pick here as well. Talking out of both sides of my mouth there. But let's take Jordan. I do like Jordan a little bit more than the field does. I think his ADP is a little bit broken today. So let's take Jordan. Yeah. But I think some of the country festivals and stuff like that have been the best. I've been very fortunate to like see Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen before they were famous and see them in like, 500 person venues, 2,000 person venues, like that sort of thing. So those were very unique experiences. But yeah, I don't know. No Bosox says he's been to 500 over the years. That's so cool, man. I mean, honest to God, live sports and live music, nothing beats it. Like if I could go every night of the week to live sports and live music, I would do it for sure. Morgan Wallen at a small venue in 2018. That's very cool. Very cool. Love that. Martin Gurrick said, Red Rocks Amphitheater. That'd be very cool. I've never been to Red Rocks. That's good. I've been to the Gorge a few times, which is, outdoor amphitheater in, south of Seattle there in Washington. Hosts a couple of music festivals, which is really cool. Yeah. Scott McCurry, good country boy as well there. Sounds like a good one. I've never seen him before, so that'd be cool. Not a huge fan. That's a good one. I think I think if I had to pinpoint like an experience one. Okay, let me think about this on the fly. Is Vinny still available? I think I like Vinny both as a one-off and a stack partner today. Can we survive pitching on the right side of the board? 3 pitchers can go. Will Vinny come back? Let's do Vinny. I think we could survive pitching on the other side of the board. We need a Rotorun music stream ASAP. Yeah. This is kind of turning into it, man. Bamboozle Festival 15 years ago, 50 Cent, LMFAO. That's fucking fun. That is cool. That is very cool. Killers at Boulder Theater, 200 people in the crowd, 20 feet away from the band. Very cool. Very cool. Before they became like iconic and what the Killers are now. Very cool, man. Raisin asking, does the Gorge live up to the hype? The Gorge is very cool experience. It's in the fucking middle of nowhere and takes like 5 hours to drive to, and you basically have to camp there and whatever. So we did a country festival in there. I can't remember what it's called right now. Middle of summer every single year. It's like 95 degrees, 110 degrees every single day. It's uncomfortable. It's sticky. It's you're fighting for showers and stuff. It's a young man's game. If I had a big trailer, I would do it again and take an RV down there. I think it'd be, and you're doing the glamping thing. It'd be amazing. As far as like the music and the setup and the stages, it's very cool because it's very open and it doesn't feel crazy claustrophobic, even when all the shows are sold out and it's on a big grass hill. It's a very enjoyable music listening and watching experience. The camping and the other stuff that goes on with it and the clusterfuck of getting in and out of there and sitting in a lineup to get in and out to camp it's a young man's game. That's not my thing anymore. Watershed. Thank you. Yes, we did Watershed a couple times. That's what it's called. Okay, so pitching comes all the way back to us. We don't have to take it because the other pitchers have gone on the other side of the board already. We got a 2-man stack with KC here. I think we can 3-man stack KC and then take another one off if we want. Oh, shit. I got caught up in my own stories. I think I like Perez more than I like India. But this is a very repeatable stack here, guys, because it's so easy to obtain. So I think if I had my thinking cap on, maybe I would have set up like backdoor athletics and taken like Soderstrom and then scrolled the F down for Seth Brown as like a contrarian one-off in the 10 mans. But yeah. Whoa, Daft Punk at Coachella 06. Very cool. That's epic, man. That's epic. Yeah, Daft Punk's got like that infamous vibe to them. I think we can wait. I think we should get ahead of the pitcher run because I do think in the 10 persons, I like Zach Gallen in general. I know it's a tough lineup. I know it was an outlier performance last time out, but he is a professional ass pitcher who I can bet on some of the length from. And I do think if we happen to get the other game, canceled, that I'm not going to want some of the swap options down here. So leaving Justin Steele on the board is fine, and taking Gallen over him is fine. I think we're going to go for a one-off here, guys, just to make it super contrarian. A one-off stick here. I really like the team Eggers is building out right now. Polymath doing a nice little stack. What's Roy doing? Roy's a little bit all over the place, but he's going to land the plane here. Big Fungi doing the Arizona and Baltimore and just playing that is the game that pops off this evening. I like that. Jay Sean going with the Seager plus a Dolis. So that game plays and you need a little bit of offense. So he's playing the San Diego stuff and then plays the cheapest that the Texas stuff will ever be. Seems smart. Zach Eflin goes. Yeah, my first concert was like, I didn't go to concerts when I was like a kid. It was like high school that I went to a concert. And I think it was Dierks Bentley. And actually, this is kind of cool. Dierks Bentley, and then the openers were Eric Church and Justin Moore. It was very cool. Think about that as them being openers for Dierks Bentley. I think that was my first one. My second one was, I think, like Keith Urban and Rascal Flatts or something. We went to a 50 Cent one in high school too. Like 50 Cent and the Game and like that sort of stuff. Like 50 was the rage back then. Do we scroll all the way the F down? Or do we do the Trevor Larnach like I said I liked as a one-off? Let's scroll all the way the F down. Seth Brown as a one-off homer against Michael King. Who the fuck's clicking that? Nobody's clicking that. Nobody is clicking that. Craig Morgan. There's a name I haven't heard in years. Craig Morgan low-key had some bangers. If you're a country guy, you know that Craig Morgan had some bangers back in the day. Jeff Buckley as first concert. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've been to a couple cool shows with my old man too. Going to a concert with your dad, that's pretty sweet shit. We saw Tom Petty together before he died. Yeah, Redneck Yacht Club. There we go. Garrick's got it. Love it. First concert, Neil Diamond in Denver. Old McNichols Arena. Van Halen reunion with David Lee Roth. That's fucking nails. Bon Jovi. My parents saw Bon Jovi as an opener in college. Holy shit. Very cool.
First two concerts, George Strait and Smashing Pumpkins. You picked some bangers. You picked some winners for your first ones. You get the CLV you got on those first two shows. That's epic. I love just bullshitting with the community, talking some ball, talking some stuff. This is great. All right, guys, we got to tie a bow on it there. 2 hours. Mr. Goodboy has places to be right now. It's finally stopped raining. It was pissing rain this weekend. I got caught in a couple monsoons out there, but it stopped raining. Mr. Goodboy's got some good stuff to go to. Hey, here you go. Zach Brown Brand and Steven Tyler came out. That's wild. Very cool. That's sick, Kevin. That's sick. Man, that is fun. All right, guys. Appreciate all of you being here tonight. Best of luck in anything you are playing this evening. Best of luck at some of these majors only and or scramble returns contests. Get in there. I'm going to be getting some entries in. I'm going to try my best to have a guest on for a paywall show that is golf related in the next couple days here. Other than that, we have the dance tomorrow with last year's champion. Scott's going to be rolling through Bloomstein there, former World Series of Poker main event champion and last year's dance champion, joining Pete and I and Nez. Nez is going to be back for 3 shows the remainder of this week. So don't worry, you're not just stuck with me. We got 240 of us hanging out. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, notification bell. If you happen to be on the X side, please and thank you. Jump on over to the YouTube side. Just hit that little thumb, man. It does so much for us in terms of, our rates and being visible. We want to keep growing this platform. We want to keep growing the Badge Bros platform, and we want to keep growing the games on Underdog Fantasy. Only good things can happen from hitting the like, the subscribe, the notification. I will drop a pick'em if there's anything I'm liking in the basketball stuff using the Unabated tool in the Discord later this evening. Shout out to the good people at Unabated. 20% off at sign up with promo code BADGE. There, some of the best projections in the business for NBA stuff there, especially when it comes to silly season and the playoffs. They will be covering the playoffs as well there. So, really looking forward to that. Best of luck in any contest you choose to play this evening. I will be in the NBA streets and in the MLB streets the remainder of the day. I'm John. This has been Underdog Daily, coupled with music, nostalgia trip, everybody's favorite talent show. The end. Peace. Appreciate you guys.